In this video, I'm going to show you how to find and use photographs from the selected photographs of the American Civil War collection from the Library of Congress. As you can see, I'm just on Google here. I'm going to type in selected photos of the Civil War, and as you can see my results, right here at the very top, you can see selected photographs of the homepage from the Library of Congress at memory.loc.gov. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And it's going to take me to this collection from the Library of Congress called the Selected Photographs of the American Civil War. From within this collection, I can do quite a different things to search the collection. I can just click search, and I can type in a word here. I can type in Antietam, and it will give me a listing of all of the ones that are related to Antietam, and you can see that there are 40 of them. I can also click back here, and then I can search by subject index, so I can look at anything from William Barry to Alfred Duffy, or from Mechanicsville in Virginia to Samuel Zook. So any one of those groups I can click on and start to look at various aspects of the Civil War from this collection. I can also come down here and look at it via a timeline, so I can pick a particular year. So if I click 1862, I can see all of the items that are related to 1862. I can look at other photographs. So my family and I were just in Charleston, South Carolina, so I can click on Charleston and then click on look at various aspects. This is a photograph of the parapet of Fort Sumter looking toward Morris Island. So I can click on that and have a look and see what that looked like. Moving backwards again, I can also look at, there's a section in here called Does the Camera Ever Lie, which has a couple of interesting stories about the case of the confused identity and the case of the moved body. So if I click on this case of the moved body, there is actually this wonderful story about the dead sharpshooter in Gettysburg in Devil's Den. There's also information on the different photographers. There's information on how the photographs are taken and things like that. So let's go ahead and look at some of the photographs in more detail. So I'm going to click on 1862. So I'm going to click on 1862, and then that brings up another screen as I showed before. And I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to select Antietam. Now, a little bit different from my search, because these are the photographs that were taken in 1862, but related to Antietam. So I'm getting like Elk Mountain here and whatnot. But I'm going to click next page, and you can see that I have 31 results. I'm going to go back to the previous page, and I'm going to select one of these photographs. So here we see one. It's Allen Pinkerton, President Lincoln, and General McClellan, McClernand at Antietam. So here I can see who the photographer was, the date that it was taken on October 3rd, 1862, and the location, and some other information about the print, the call number and digital format and things like that. If I click on the photograph, I can see a nice image of President Lincoln here in the middle with the general and Allen Pinkerton over here in the left. Now, Allen Pinkerton's famous for being a spy. He was part of the Union Intelligence Service in 1861 and 1862 and actually foiled an assassination attempt on President Lincoln at one time in Baltimore. So as part of this picture, I can view this. Now, let's look up here at the top a minute. Up here at the top, it says, retrieve a higher resolution JPEG version of this at 146 kilobytes. Retrieve an uncompressed archival TIFF version of 20 megabytes. Or retrieve a highest resolution TIFF version of 86 megabytes. And I'm going to show you what each one of those means, or what at least the JPEG and the TIFF version means. So I've gone ahead and downloaded the photographs and pulled them up in a program called GIMP, G-I-M-P, which stands for the New Image Manipulation Program. And I've got this JPEG version of the photograph open. Now, in my JPEG version, I can still scroll around and I can look and I can move, I can look at the photograph. And I'm going to click on my little magnifying glass over here on the left. And if I click on it, it starts to zoom in and I can start to look at some of the details. So I can see there's something hanging here on the tree. I can start to see Allen Pinkerton's tie. A little bit clearer, there's a lot of debris on the ground in the background. This table becomes clear. Here's a camp chair. And I'm starting to zoom in and look at some of the details. And I'm starting to really want to look at this Alan Pinkerton here guy. But now you notice in this JPEG version that as I'm zooming in, see, it's becoming pixelated and it's becoming very grainy and very hard to see. So as I increase my resolution here or increase my zoom magnification, it actually becomes more and more pixelated and a lot harder to view. So as I'm scrolling around, there's really not a whole lot that I can do there. A whole lot I can see. That's probably about the best that I'm going to get, as much highest detail that I'm going to get. So now I've switched over to the TIFF version. Again, you can see it's very large, 205 megabytes in size. This is the highest resolution one. And I'm going to go over here again, and I'm going to select my zoom tool, and I'm going to start focusing on this Alan Pinkerton again and his demeanor. So now you notice that as I continue to zoom in, one of the greatest things about this, that I'm using this TIFF version, is that I am not losing any of the resolution. So you notice now that it's not getting pixelated at all. I can see right up to his tie. I can start looking at the gray hairs in his beard almost. So I'm zooming in at extreme magnification here, and I'm not losing a bit of resolution. So I can look at the detail on this tent, this cord holder for the tent, and I can go right in and I can look at that. If your students in your, if you have students in industrial arts or something that want to recreate that in their woodshop class, they can do that. So you can, look at things like that for a project. I can start to look at the detail in the background, so I can see a lot of this debris on the ground in the background. And I can start to examine and look around and see, look, there's a barrel or part of a barrel that wasn't available. I can look at this camp stool over here that we talked about earlier in the previous picture and see that there's some kind of book or something sitting on there. Wonder what that is, some kind of field manual. Start to look at the buttons. I can see the cuff in this officer's coat. I can see the stripes running down the side of his pants. So just high resolution detail. I can start to really clearly. I can zoom in on those stars on his shoulder and just really get a good look at him. And I can even zoom in and get a really good look at that famous face of Abraham Lincoln without losing. I can see some of the lines and wrinkles almost in his famous stovetop hat. So you start to look at these photographs, and he's squinting a little bit, so it looks like he hasn't slept much. But you get the idea that you can use this high-resolution photograph to really, really look at these photographs in high detail and start to learn a whole lot more. Look, there's even some guys hiding back here in the background. You can see here's an officer right here. Looks like maybe a captain because he's got two stripes on the side of it on his shoulder boards. You can see his buttons on his frock coat, and you can see him hiding out back here, and this guy back here lounging behind trying to get into the picture. So those were not visible in the other picture in the other versions. And these little clues and these little treasures that pop out when you might not be able to see them. So that's how I like to use selected photographs of the Civil War. And you can do this and have kids, just shout out, throw this up on a screen and have kids shout out what they like to see and what they might see, or do them in pairs. Do them at different resolutions and have a little worksheet that says, what do you think you see? What did you find? Where did you find it? And have kids just show and circle it. You could throw this up on a smartboard and have kids come up and circle the things or whatever you want to do. It's just some interesting little integration ideas that gets the kids away, be able to interact with these digital primary sources in new ways.